I really would like to tell you something good about Twitch. And when I hear it, I will tell you. But today is not that day. Before we get started, I'd like to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Keeps. If you weren't aware, 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness before the age of 35. Keeps offers the best solution to this. Prevent the hair loss before it starts, and do so at an affordable rate. And this is something you can do because Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA approved hair loss products out there. It's possible you've tried them before, but never for this price. Plus, you can get treated right from home. Thanks to Keeps, you can skip the doctor's office, which is generally seen as a good idea this year, and instead visit your doctor online and have your medication sent directly to your home. They make it easy and deliver your medication every 3 months. Keeps treatments generally take about 4 to 6 months for you to start seeing results, so the sooner you start, the more hair you'll save. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/alphagaming or click the link in the description below and save 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/alphagaming. Guys, I feel like we would all agree if I said that Twitch's popularity, or at least their favorability, has been on a pretty steady decline over the past couple years. And while it's worth noting that this is kind of the nature of when a social media platform grows to this size, it still feels like it's declining faster and has already gone much lower than its competitors, like for example, YouTube. I mean, YouTube's had their mistakes and YouTube's made their creators angry, but nothing quite as serious as Twitch's DMCA issues. And that's not like an unfair comparison to make, by the way. It's not like Twitch's DMCA issues are bigger than YouTube's. YouTube dealt with the DMCA issues almost a decade ago. And in fact, it was harder for them because they were the first big content creation platform to deal with it. Twitch could have learned from YouTube, and they still managed to handle it worse. It seems like Twitch has kind of fallen into a pattern whenever they deal with serious issues like this, and they have a tendency to do 2 things. First, they acknowledge the issue, which is a good first step. It's a necessity. But then second, after acknowledging that it's a big problem, their solution is to put a Band-Aid on it, but not like a nice new Band-Aid, like the Band-Aid you find at like the bottom of a pool that's like gross and used and soggy and probably has bacteria on it. It allows them to say, hey, look, we did something, when in reality, it usually ends up making the problem worse. For example, the DMCA issue, which just got dramatically worse this week. We'll get to that. But the DMCA issue isn't anything recent. It didn't start 6 months ago. Not only has YouTube been dealing with it for a decade, and they could have looked at that and said, hey, this will probably happen to us. We got thousands of people playing music. But also, big streamers have been getting DMCA strikes for years now. Twitch ended up coming out with a handful of statements on this, acknowledging their mistakes, kind of, and then they released a solution that ended up being much worse. They released Soundtrack, which sounded like a really cool idea when they first started, until music industry experts got their hands on it and realized that all it was an attempt to keep their platform within the bounds of safe harbor while doing the absolute bare minimum. They quickly threw together Soundtrack to keep themselves covered, which ended up making the problem a lot worse for streamers. Because as the music industry experts said, all they were actually doing was finding sneaky gray areas to circumvent paying proper copyrights, which made the RIAA extremely angry. So now the RIAA has kind of a vendetta against Twitch and is doing everything they can to hit them. For example, they've started getting exponentially more aggressive with their DMCA claims. They have invested a ton of money in software that can issue a DMCA claim while you're live. That'll start happening soon. And lastly, a big announcement this week, they've started pushing legislation that would actually cause a DMCA strike to be a felony and cause massive fines and potentially even jail time. And that's not a joke, by the way. It's not a stretch either. This is legislation that is essentially funded by Sony, Warner Brothers, Universal, that is there to punish people who use copyrighted stuff in their content, even as simple as throwing a song in their Instagram story. And really the most frustrating thing about this whole thing is this could have been a huge win for Amazon if they'd spent a little time and put in a little effort. Amazon has Amazon Music. If they were able to put together some kind of broadcaster license and integrate it with their platform so that creators could pay a little bit more and purchase the rights to actually play music on their platform. Not only would that solve the DMCA issue, but also that would bring a large number of people over to Amazon Music, and suddenly, you know, maybe Amazon Music would actually be a contender in the music streaming services. The other thing that in the last year or so has gained a lot of traction for failure on Twitch's part is their lack of discoverability. And this one's really interesting because Twitch has acknowledged this kind of for a while now, and they keep pushing out tiny little updates that don't really change discoverability, but they get people excited, and I always get tweets saying like, hey, did you notice that when you look at creators, smaller creators are near the top now? And that's good, but they don't understand that it's not a long-term solution to the actual problem. The latest update released by Twitch is they added like more tabs for categories, which people got pumped about, and I wish it's just tabs. It's not going to change the way we browse content. The underlying issue with Twitch and discoverability is that live content is not fun to watch. Twitch needs more browsable, short-form, curated content. Take YouTube, for example, who's done a phenomenal job at filling out the space. They have live gaming content. They also have long-form content in the form of full-length YouTube videos. And then if you want to browse shorter content, which before you had to leave and go to TikTok or Instagram or something, now you can watch YouTube stories, which are not huge yet, but they're also releasing YouTube shorts. YouTube is making a full-featured site, so whatever kind of content you want to browse, whether it's short, long, or live, you can watch all of it. Twitch has live content, and that's it. And that is the fundamental flaw of the discoverability and browsability of their site. They used to have clips, which were implemented kind of poorly, not a great way to browse them, but now you don't even have those because the DMCA issue, no one is saving clips anymore. So it's just live content now. I think the biggest differentiating factors between Twitch and YouTube is two things. One, it's a difference between how well the people at the top understand their user base. You know, how well does Susan Wojcicki understand the YouTube's user base versus how well does Emmett Shear understand? And number two, I would guess from being someone looking at it from the outside, it seems like it's displaying a very big difference in interest from the parent companies, meaning Google and Amazon, and how much they really believe in the platform and how much they want to invest in it to turn it into a beautiful tool that lasts a long time. Google and YouTube have invested insane amounts of money into incredible things that nobody even asked for. They spent over $100 million on Content ID to solve the DMCA issue. They built YouTube spaces and locations all around the world for content creators to go to and use and have sets and equipment that they normally otherwise wouldn't have access to, and you can use them for free. They've built an experience for both the user and the creator that feels like it's the future of entertainment. Whereas Twitch, even though it's owned by Amazon, still cuts massive corners and feels like it's a startup. It seems like Amazon wanted to buy it, put some money into it for a couple of years, and then cash out, or at least milk it until it's dry, which is why they've started forcing just ungodly amounts of ads on their live experience, when instead, if they wanted to spend more time and put more thought into it, they could create a more curated content experience, browsable and topicable content that allow you to place targeted ads, which yields about, I mean, they're worth about 10 times as much. Plus, it would just be a more tolerable ad experience for the user. Also, the Twitch app still has like a 20-second delay, so don't know what that's about. But I've been very outspoken about what I think Twitch would need to do in order to kind of bring itself back to the status it had in 2017, 2018. But I would like to pass the question off to you. What do you think Twitch would have to do this year? What do you think they would have to change and evolve by the end of 2021 for you to regain your hope in this platform and feel like this is a system that's actually going somewhere? Because I'd like to see them really compete with YouTube, but every decision Twitch makes and every decision YouTube makes seems like it's driving them further apart, going down lower on Twitch's end and up higher on YouTube's end. So let me know in the comments down below what changes you'd like to see them do, or jump into my Twitch stream and come talk with me there. I spend a lot of time in just chatting, link in the description below. And as always, happy streaming.